On Tech News Today, the iPhone 6 ships next Friday, but not in China. Apple's most important product is on hold in the world's biggest market. Plus, Radioshack might be declaring bankruptcy soon. And a security researcher says Facebook Messenger code looks like spyware. All that and more coming up right now on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, September 11th, 2014. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free 2-week trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code TNT. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, and other Apple products are worth at Gazelle.com. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who reported. Welcome to the show. I'm Mike Elgan. With me is birthday boy Jason Howell.
Hey.
My watch at 5 o'clock in the morning, like my new Moto 360.
Oh, you got it on. Excellent.
Told me that it was your birthday, and I was shocked. Shocked, I tell you.
That's the power of Android Wear, is that it tells people that it's Jason's birthday, apparently.
No more excuses.
I've heard from a bunch of people on Google Plus that are like, my watch told me to say happy birthday to you, so here you go.
It is the strangest thing.
I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you doing anything special tonight?
Not that I know of, but maybe. Never know. You never know. It's probably going to be a normal Thursday night. Who knows? Maybe we'll do something this weekend.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, and joining us later in the show is going to be Elise Hugh. She's our Thursday co-anchor. She's running a little late, but she's going to be on in just a little while. So we're just going to jump into the news without her. Starting with another Apple report, the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus phones are being delayed in China, the world's largest smartphone market. And the reason is a mystery. The New York Times reported that the Chinese government has not yet approved the phones for sale. Neither China nor Apple has announced when the phones will ship. Alex Heath writes for Cult of Mac and joins us now to tell us about this story. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, Mike.
So Apple famously shipped the iPhone 5 in China on the very same day as it did in the United States. That was a milestone for Apple and for China. What's the holdup this time?
Well, Apple's not telling us anything beyond that they haven't set a launch date yet, but reports out of China are saying that the devices haven't received regulatory approval in the country, and they're not showing up on the country's regulatory website where they list these devices that the state has approved. So, you know, China and Apple have kind of been on a delicate balancing act for a while. I'm sure you remember when the media criticized Apple for spying on citizens with Find My iPhone and iCloud. And my gut instinct tells me that it has something to do with that.
Yeah, it seems to be. And that part seems to be a larger effort to kind of tamp down the hotter American technology companies for a variety of reasons. Speculation includes the fact that they want to favor Chinese brands. They want to punish the United States for the NSA revelations. They want to basically reduce the presence of companies like Apple that potentially can use encryption and other technologies to enable Chinese citizens to speak to each other without the Chinese government overhearing that. They do not like that. And so at this point we have to guess, though, because they certainly haven't announced this. What I don't understand is what they could possibly gain by a delay. I mean, I don't think there's any question that the iPhones will be approved for sale in China. It'll happen sooner or later, and I don't think they could really politically delay it much more than a couple weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. What do you think the Chinese government gains by delaying the approval?
You know, I don't really know beyond what you said about the government trying to monitor American companies more closely. I have a feeling that there's just a lot of hurdles that Apple's having to overcome that it didn't foresee. Like the New York Times reported that carriers were notified Wednesday that the device wouldn't be going on sale on the 19th, like it is in all of the other initial launch countries, which that's a big deal for Apple. It's a huge deal. China is Apple's fastest growing market. Tim Cook foresees that it'll outgrow the U.S. eventually. And, you know, phablets are huge in China. And it's, you'd be hard-pressed to say that the iPhone 6 Plus with its 5.5-inch screen was not created specifically with markets like China in mind. So not having those devices available on launch day is going to, I think, significantly hurt Apple's perception, the perception of the company in the country, because the Chinese definitely want larger iPhones, and Apple not having them when everyone else is getting them it's a big deal.
Yeah, and of course the carriers there are champing at the bit to get this phone. They've already advertised it well before the launch using fake iPhones, which are in plentiful supply in China. There's some speculation that this could actually backfire and the Chinese government actually increase demand, since it's something you can't get. And so as in previous pre-iPhone 5 launches, legions of people were waiting in line at Apple stores and buying up all the iPhones they could and then smuggling them into China. For example, before the iPhone even existed on the China mobile carrier, it was one of the #1 phones on that carrier because people were just smuggling them in and just bring them in unlocked. But what do you think? Is this going to hurt sales or help sales? Will people blame Apple, or will they blame the government?
It certainly can't help, and I don't see how Chinese citizens wouldn't blame Apple, especially with how the government points the finger at Apple in every other way. And like I said before, it's such a delicate balancing act with Apple and China right now because of how different the country operates. For instance, they just had to move their iCloud servers over to state-run servers instead of their own to try to quell fears that they were spying on citizens. And there's no doubt in my mind that they want to get these new iPhones in the hands of the Chinese as quickly as possible. Some even posited that the 6 Plus would be hard to get in the U.S. on launch day because Apple was going to be diverting much of the shipments to China. So it's very puzzling, and hopefully Apple will launch soon in China, because I definitely think they need to get in as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. Well, Alex Heath writes at cultofmac.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Alex Heath. Thank you for joining us, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we've been joined by Elise Hugh, and I want to welcome you into the show. How are you doing, Elise?
I'm good. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm coming at you from Portland, Oregon.
Ooh, nice. That's an awesome city and an awesome state, and thank you for being here. Now, yesterday was the Internet Slowdown Day, Elise Hugh, and you had written an article about it before it happened, but did you really perceive that the Internet slowed down? I didn't really notice much of an impact on this event.
Well, Mike, as our listeners and viewers probably know, this was a symbolic slowdown only, but there was a really wide participation by a lot of sites, some of your favorite sites on the internet. And so I think this is considered a success by the advocates for net neutrality and for stricter protections for net neutrality. I had gotten actually lots of notes from audience members who said, I have never contacted the FCC before, and this is now my opportunity to contact the FCC. What is the docket number? So this was a good awareness day, I think, for that cause.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to hear about new trouble from Radioshack. But first, I want to tell you about Squarespace. Squarespace is the place to promote your personal brand. That's right. You are the brand now. No matter where you work, no matter what you do, you are the brand, and you have to sell yourself. And also, if people want to follow you on social media, you're probably going to be scattered all over on different social media. If you want to have a blog, you're going to want a place to put that you control. And of course, if you are looking for a job, or if you want to advance your career, you want to be able to brag about yourself and your accomplishments and your history somewhere where people can bring it all together in one place, and that one place can be Squarespace. And I highly recommend that everyone take control of their personal brand with a Squarespace website. Now, we talk about promotional websites, we talk about selling things, we talk about blogs. With Squarespace, you can bring it all together on a single site. You can for example, my wife has been working on a book for a while. She's got a blog there. She's got a place to where you can ultimately buy the book when it goes on sale, where you can find out about the history of the book, about her past. Everything is in one place. And that's really the way to do it. And of course, you're going to look awesome because they have 25 beautiful templates for you to start with. And if you want a logo for whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're selling, you can use Squarespace's logo creator tool. Just go to blog.squarespace.com and check that out. They have a really cool video that explains exactly how that works. Now, if you're importing your blog from another blog, you can do that easily with Squarespace. Just import it automatically from WordPress, Blogger, Tumblr, and more. It's super easy to do, and all of your old posts just come right into the Squarespace blog so that there's no disconnect with your readers, your blog readers. Super easy to use, but if you need tech support, it's available 24/7 via email or chat. Super easy to use, and it all sounds super expensive because this is really high-end stuff, but it starts at just $8 a month, and that includes even a free domain name if you sign up for a year. So what are you waiting for? Start your free 2-week trial with no credit card required and start building your website today. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure you use the offer code TNT, and that'll get you 10% off the price and show your support for Tech News Today, and we really appreciate that. Well, Elise, it looks like Radioshack is in trouble again. What's going on with Radioshack?
Well, the once ubiquitous company with stores in what seemed like every mall in America may be filing for bankruptcy. It's taken 10 straight quarters of losses now, and things don't appear to be getting better. To talk with us about this story, we have two reporters from Bloomberg News, Lauren Lochner and Jodi Shu, who join us by phone. Lauren and Jodi, welcome.
Thanks. Thanks for having us.
Well, let's set this up. How bad is it for Radioshack right now?
It's been bad for a number of years, but obviously we weren't expecting good news today. And, you know, when we saw the actual numbers in terms of cash on hand and liquidity, they are definitely running out of time. They need to have a solution either in or out of court in a very, very short period of time.
Now, it seems like they're trying to be more contemporary. They're trying to be a consumer electronics store in addition to what they've been traditionally, which is a place to buy batteries and parts and that sort of thing for makers and, you know, consumer electronics enthusiasts. For example, they're even offering sales of the iPhone pre-orders. They're going to be selling, you know, taking your money for pre-orders, happy to take your money anywhere they can get it. But why hasn't this worked, do you think?
I think it's tough for all consumer electronics retailers right now. And if you look back at the Best Buy figures, they had declining sales as well. It's people are buying online. Radioshack is in a particularly tough spot also because it's very exposed to mobile phones, and that has been a tough area for quite a while. Also, if you are going to go to a bricks and mortar store, Radioshack, despite the fact that they have more than 4,000 locations, it might not be your first choice. You may go to Walmart, you may go to Costco, you may go to Best Buy. They are, as one analyst noted to me yesterday, pretty far down on a lot of people's lists.
So Jodi Shu, talk to us about what happens next. What are the big decisions that Radioshack now has to make, and what do you predict will happen?
As the CEO said on the earnings call today, the company definitely needs fresh capital to keep the operations going forward. As we reported earlier, one of their biggest shareholders, Standard General, has been trying to put together a so-called rescue financing, which is the last stop the company would resort to creditors to find very much needed liquidity. That's been going on for weeks. And the question right now is whether the shareholders are able to put together enough demand to take out necessary the debt they need to take out in order to proceed with their initial store closing plans, which was blocked by some of the lenders earlier in the year, back in April or May. So it comes down to whether they can put together a feasible plan, put the money together, and have a feasible business plan in order in a very short window.
It seems to me, Lauren Lochner, that the most rational business plan would be for them to close all their stores and become an online retailer. It's really difficult to be a brick-and-mortar retailer nowadays because people do a lot of showrooming where they go in, they find their product they want at Radioshack or some other store, and then they buy it on Amazon or somewhere else. And so that could be one way that they could go. Is that something they're talking about or thinking about, do you think?
I'm not aware if that is a strategy. Now, conceivably in a bankruptcy, also the assets would be bought, and even if they liquidated, I'm not suggesting that they're going to, but even if they cease to exist as a bricks and mortar retailer, somebody could buy that brand and operate as an online only. We've seen that in the case of companies like Sharper Image that did close all their stores. It's tough because, again, they are so heavily tilted toward mobile phones. They're trying to diversify, but they don't have a lot of time. And the mobile phone carriers in the last 15 years or so have opened thousands and thousands of stores. People do, I think, like to go in and for that item and try them out. So I'm not sure how well, unless they had a lot of diversification of their merchandise, they would work as an online entity. And there are questions about how valuable the brand is as well.
Interesting. Now, Jodi Shu, I'm not really clear on you. You had written in your piece that they are in danger of being delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. I'm not really clear what kind of damage that might do to them or their reputation or their business. Can you sort of explain what would happen to them if that were to occur?
Oh, sure, yeah. So once the company's stock goes down below $1, and then it goes into a warning period where at the end of that period, if the stock price doesn't go back up above 1, it will officially be delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. What would happen when that occurs is essentially the equity value in that company will be completely wiped out, almost to near zero, right? So shareholders would be hurt if that occurs, and also it hurts the company's capability of raising fresh capital if that happens. Essentially, the street is saying that we have no confidence in your company. The equity value is near zero, and why would anyone put more money in? Another thing to keep in mind is for any distressed company, you think about creditors. Each lender or creditor in a company that depending on where they are in a company's capital structure, and how much assets they can tap into in a bankrupt situation, that decides on what they want to do to rescue their original investment. So that tells you, when you read stories, that tells you why certain lenders and the creditors would like to keep the company out of bankruptcy and have the incentive to put together a last-minute rescue financing.
Interesting. You can follow Jodi Shu at Jodi Shu. Let me spell that, Jodixu. And you can follow Lauren Lochner on Twitter at Lauren Lochner, Lochner. And, of course, both write for Bloomberg.com. I want to thank both of you for coming on Tech News Today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Well, Facebook's Messenger app is so invasive of user privacy that a security researcher says its code looks more like spyware than a messaging app. Freelance writer Matthew Braga wrote an exclusive on this story for Motherboard and joins us now. Welcome, Matthew.
Hey, Mike.
So who is this security researcher making these claims, and why does he believe Messenger looks like spyware?
So Jonathan is he's an iOS sort of security researcher and forensics expert. He's sort of written articles and sort of done similar digging into I guess iOS security related topics before. And on Tuesday morning, he basically said on Twitter that he just decided to take a cursory look inside of the iOS Facebook Messenger app binary to sort of see what it was doing. And he cautioned, it was just a preliminary look. He didn't dig too deeply, but he was surprised at, I guess, how much analytics data and how many things that it was tracking and recording about things that people were doing within the app, and even things they were doing outside of the app as well.
So, Matthew, what does Facebook say about all this? What was their response?
So Facebook, they didn't actually issue an official statement, but they pointed me to the two tweets that were made by a member of the Facebook Messenger team. And, the response was, as I think you might expect, a lot of the things that Facebook is doing in the analytics app or sort of a lot of the analytics that Facebook is doing in this Messenger app are intended to, make the app better, to learn how people are using the app. And I think a lot of that is fair. I mean, I think a lot of that's to be expected. But, the opposite, or, sort of the flip side of things is, I don't think users realize just how many things that, apps, Facebook, or in general, have the ability to track and have the ability to keep logs on. And that was the sort of, that was the crux of sort of Jonathan Jarsky's sort of comments, is that, he was finding that this app was able to do things that even he didn't think that, normal developers had the ability to do, and that users probably don't realize Facebook has the ability to do as well.
I'm sure they don't. Now, I understand why Facebook might want to harvest some user data, to serve up contextual advertising, but they do all kinds of stuff that doesn't seem to be related to either user advertising or improving the service or anything. For example, what would Facebook do with information about a user's Wi-Fi identifier?
Yeah, I mean, that's not entirely clear, right? I mean, that was one of the things I was sort of curious about as well. It was also curious, Jarsky also mentioned that Facebook will be able to see sort of other processes and I guess apps that we're running on a phone. And, I can see how that might be of use, being able to see, well, how much time is someone spending in Facebook versus how much time someone is spending in, let's say, Snapchat, for example. But yeah, as far as, the Wi-Fi SSIDs go, I don't know. It's not entirely sure. I mean, perhaps you could track the, amount of time people are connecting to public AT&T Wi-Fi hotspots versus, Verizon or something like that. And perhaps there's some use there, but yeah, it's not entirely clear.
And Matthew, you asked another researcher for the purposes of your piece if Apple might have given Facebook access to private APIs and features that other developers don't have. What did that researcher tell you?
Right. So Ashkan Soltani, who he's another independent security researcher, I sort of just asked him very quick via email whether this is the sort of thing that, companies like companies like Facebook and Twitter, which have sort of more, I guess, lower level access to, they're baked into the very nature of the OS. You go into the iPhone settings and you're able to sort of control and add Facebook and Twitter accounts from there. And I wondered perhaps that gives them access to certain sort of, system capabilities that other developers might not have. And Soltani said, yeah, that's probably a good hunch that that's something that a company like Facebook would have access to.
Now, you wrote that Jarsky found comments in the code about not using certain features or functions, or else, quote, you will be fired, unquote. What's that all about?
So there was sort of a former iPhone hacker / Facebook employee who sort of chimed in on Twitter and said, just FYI, like, that's a joke. I put that in, which, is all well and good. It was sort of, pretty funny to see someone from the company chime in and say that. But it was still, it still doesn't really answer. I mean, what is so important within, an app such as Facebook, whether it's, that line of code is still in use or not, to warrant, that sort of joking warning, whether it was actually meant sort of seriously or ominously or not. I mean, what would have happened if someone were to actually use that? What would be the implication? I mean, we don't know. We don't even know what the code does. So it's hard to say.
Yeah. It's more scary than funny, I think. Who knows what they're harvesting. Matthew Braga is at mattbraga.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at mattbraga. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike.
All right. Well, Elise, I love to write negative reviews when services or restaurants or whatever are terrible, and it looks like California is protecting my rights as a negative person.
Well, it's a real win for free expression in the big picture. California law now says companies cannot punish customers who post negative reviews. California Governor Jerry Brown signed the law this week, and here to tell us more about it is Jeff John Roberts, writer at GigaOM. Hi, Jeff John Roberts.
Hi, good to be here.
Well, how is this working in practice, just to get started? How are businesses muzzling bad reviews in the first place?
Well, generally, when you buy anything, you book a hotel, or often when you buy something online, you sign a contract. You exchange your money for their goods. And what businesses have started to do, they're so afraid of online criticism, is slip in something deep into that contract that say, if you say anything bad about them online, then they have a right to fine you, or that you have to pay them or compensate them for the harm you cause. Hotels have done this. Retailers have done this, and even actually dentists and doctors and such folk are doing it too. So it's been going on for a while, but more and more people are doing it.
Is it possible for them to then do it without a contract? I mean, this is all about finding them if they use a contract to do it.
Exactly. So without a contract, I mean, you can still, sue someone for libel. If you're going online and saying things that are blatantly untrue, you can get in trouble. But if you want to say their service sucks or Tech News Today is the worst show on the internet,
nobody would say that.
No one would ever say that. But like if that's just opinion. But if I said something libelous, yes, you could go after me. But generally, for most businesses, without the contract, they can't really do anything to you. But that's why they're trying to use these contracts and why California just moved in to get rid of them.
Now, this is a kind of interesting thing because whenever we talk about California, it's such a gigantic state. It's such an economic powerhouse. I think if it were a country, it'd be the 8th richest country in the world now, I think is the current statistic. Will this influence similar legislation or similar rules throughout the country and throughout the world, or is this something that's just going to be for California companies only?
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. Typically whatever happens in California will trickle to other places sooner or later. People might try to take advantage of that California law in the meantime, but I suspect probably in coming years we'll see other states pass something similar, or perhaps Congress step in to do something too.
Interesting. And now, is there a precedent for this in other areas of governing speech and what companies can do online in terms of exacting fines or whatever from any sort of comments, or is this a brand new world?
This is kind of a new world, and also too, I mean, just think how it's not been that long that Yelp has been around for a few years, but it's only recently that everyone uses it all the time. And it's hard not to have a little bit of sympathy for the businesses, because I'm sure we all know a small business owner, and these people are terrified of what people say online, and some consumers are jerks. And a 1-star review, if you're a small business and you see that, you're probably going to be terrified. Well, not everyone, but that's what's, so for one sec, look at it from the business's eyes. But I think the state of California has made the choice correctly, I think, that free speech outweighs those concerns. So we're still in new territory, but for now, I think the consumers have won a deserved victory here.
And Jeff, as you wrote, businesses still seem to struggle with how to deal with online reviews. So just going forward, who do you think is doing it well? What is the right play or the right strategy in this new age of people getting to respond about their every experience with a business?
Well, I think, we probably all are seeing the same things. We all turn to them more and more. But the ones who are doing it well, it's big companies, but also small ones. I've seen, like in my local gym, I was looking to sign up for it. Some people wrote something negative, but I saw the business owners step right in and politely rebut them. And I think that's the best thing to do, too. And I think that's more and more businesses are realizing that's now part of their job, is to manage their social media stream. And so I think the most effective strategy is for business owners to come in there and address concerns online. And that way, when another consumer comes in and sees that review, they'll be able to see both sides of it, make up their own mind. And I think that's the model going forward.
Jeff John Roberts writes at gigaohm.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Jeff John Roberts. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeff.
Thanks so much, Mike. See you again.
All right. Well, in just a sec, we're going to tell you why it's going to be a little easier to buy an iPhone 6 this year than it has been to buy the iPhone 5 and 4, etc. But first, I want to tell you about Gazelle. Now, this is a big iPhone week, so I want to talk to you iPhone people out there. If you've got an old iPhone laying around, Gazelle definitely wants to buy it, and they will pay you good money for it. Just go to gazelle.com. That's Gazelle.com. Find your iPhone, your old iPhone that you got sitting around, maybe your current iPhone, because the new one's coming. You can pre-order it tomorrow. It ships next Friday. And then they'll tell you what the price is. You simply give the condition. They'll even often buy your broken iPhone. And that is a great deal. Nobody else is going to buy that broken iPhone, but Gazelle will, and they'll give you super good money for it. Pay you in cash. They can pay you by check. They can pay you by PayPal. Or if you use the Amazon gift card option, they'll pay you 5% more money for that iPhone. And, of course, if you have personal data on there. We always have these security stories and nightmares going on. Gazelle will take care of that for you. They'll wipe all your personal data so nobody will ever get their hands on your data. Gazelle's paid more than $175 million to more than 1 million customers. Very happy customers, I might add, and I count myself among them. Shipping is free. Most items even qualify for a free box. So find out what your iPhone is worth. Take a minute and go to Gazelle.com to find out. We're hearing that the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus phones may be in short supply in the very few weeks or days of availability. Now 95Mac is reporting that Apple will be rolling out a digital reservation system so you don't have to stand in line on the sidewalk for a week. And this is bad news for those people who have been there already in New York City for a week and a half. But the new reservation system kind of works like a restaurant. You just show up, put your name on the list, then you can come back later to pick up the phone. And best of all, I think this is a great feature. Apple will inform those who won't be getting phones that they'll be out of stock by the time they get into the store. So those line standards can either choose to wait, buy another phone model, or they can just go buy a Samsung Galaxy Note 4 instead. Well, we reported on Tech News Tonight yesterday that 5 million Gmail email addresses were exposed. The initial reports were that they were all hacked from Google, but it looks more like they were sort of cobbled together from multiple sources through phishing attacks and so on. There's a lot of trading of this information going on out there. Well, now there's a website that will let you find out if your name is on that list, if your Gmail account has been compromised. Just go to isleaked, that's isleaked.com. Enter your Gmail address, and it will tell you whether your address has been compromised or not. And that's really all you want to know. Is my email address on the list? Either way, you should use two-factor authentication.
Is this it?
That doesn't look right. The one I saw this morning was in English. It should be isleaked.com.
But it was a lot of Russian in Gmail addresses.
There we go.
So
that's better. I was like, man, am I suffering from like a stroke or something?
Well, if you read Cyrillic, then there you go.
There we go. Yeah, exactly.
Well, in other news, Western Digital has unveiled a record-breaking hard drive. Their new UltraStar HE10 holds 10 terabytes of data. It's a helium-filled drive, so I guess it makes a very high-pitched sound. And it'll offer the lowest cost per gigabyte and power consumption per gigabyte of any drive in the market, according to the company, although they didn't reveal actual pricing or actual power consumption metrics. We'll have to wait until the drive hits the market in a few months, and hopefully Jason will review it on Before You Buy and see if it really is all that it cracks up to be. Helium. Do you have any idea why they would put helium in this thing?
Well, obviously, to give it a really high voice. I mean, that's what you do with helium, right?
Maybe it makes it lighter. Maybe it's too heavy. Who knows? They don't ask me about these things. Well, a researcher at Arizona State University is building a jetpack, but not for flying, for running. His goal is to enable even the flabbiest couch potato to run a 4-minute mile. In fact, the project is called the 4MM. Researcher Jason Caresti's project is financed by, you guessed it, the Pentagon, which would love to see jetpacks that would enable U.S. soldiers to run faster than anybody else on the theater of war. This is a crazy, wacky thing. He's got a remote control. I guess the remote operator can make the runner run faster whether he wants to or not. So this is a regular.
Okay, but if I'm enhanced by a jetpack in a road race, let's just say, then my race results don't really count, right? Because I had the benefit of a jetpack and somebody driving me with a remote control.
Hey, if steroids count, then this would count too. I guess steroids don't count. I guess they catch people for doing that, and I guess they'll catch people for wearing jetpacks as well. And you saw the victim there, or I guess the test subject was wearing a helmet. So he's got 15 pounds on his back and a helmet. And still runs faster. So that's
we're entering a new future where there's foot races and then there's jetpack foot races.
Yeah.
So it's a new category of awesome.
That's right.
Is what we're about to encounter here.
That's right. That's right. And hopefully the ambulance people will have jetpacks as well to get the injured off the field of battle quickly. Well, last and probably least, we leave you with this parody of an Apple Watch commercial posted on the Jax Film YouTube channel. Take it away, Jason.
The iPad, and now the iWatch, Apple Watch, the Apple Watch. Damn, I'm never gonna get used to that. The Apple Watch stands for a pleasantly plump little electronic watch. Android's terrible, come here. It does so many cool little thingies. You can share your heartbeat for some reason. You can try looking at pictures on a 1-inch screen. You can buy 5 in a row and watch them dance. You can thumb something down or up. You can even set the date, just like a regular watch. Oh, it's got maps on it. Kind of like the phone you already have. Can it tell time? Yes. Do you have to charge it every night? Yes. Just like a regular watch. Sending emoji has never been more complicated. You can draw and send
He's using
pictures
real videos here from Apple's own videos, so that makes it all the more
that'll be a feature that'll
wonderful.
come in the iWatch 2, Apple Watch 2. I'm never gonna not say that. Now you can watch YouTube videos right on your watch.
I don't think that's true,
Now
Kenny.
you can watch YouTube videos right on your watch. Hey man, can you like move? Shut up, man. It also comes with Apple Pay, so you can use your watch like a credit card. And trust us, Apple will keep your banking information very secure. Just like all those nude pics. Now, a lot of people think the Apple Watch requires an iPhone. And they're right. If you have an iPhone 4S,
really well done.
It won't work. If you have an Android phone, get the f out. If you have a Windows phone, just kidding. The Apple Watch also comes with the brand new U2 album. We're sorry. You are going to spend hours trying to figure out how to work that crowny dial-y thingy. Because let me tell you, that screen is tiny, teeny tiny. I mean, if you're over the age of 50, I don't know what to tell you. It's the new Apple iWatch, Apple Watch. You didn't really ask for it. So here you go.
Wonderful.
Oh, and we also released a couple new...
All right, well, there it is, the Apple Watch.
That's
the
good.
Apple iWatch
I love it.
Watch thing. Yeah, I love those things. They are almost inevitable and almost always very funny. I enjoy those. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Kayla J. Heffernan, who posted this picture on Twitter. How does she watch TNT? She flies all the way from Australia.
Every single day.
Every day. Sits in the brick house and takes pictures of our wonderful operation here. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just take a picture of your setup, post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowDoYouWatchTNT, and we will find it. That is the tech news today. Thank you so much, Elise Hugh, for co-anchoring today. I really appreciate it. Are you in like a hotel of some kind? Where are you?
Sorry, let me get this right. All right, here I am. I'm in a hotel in Portland, Oregon, but just today. So I'll be back in my regular spot next week, I think. And so I apologize to the Tech News Today viewers for the random location.
No, it's awesome. The light has been great. It's been nice to see you shift around and move around. So anyway, Elise, thank you so much. And we will see you next Thursday here on Tech News Today.
Great. Thanks, guys.
All right. If you want to get Tech News Today the easy way, you can subscribe. There's so many ways to do it on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, RSS, Yahoo, Feedly. So many options. You can choose your favorite at twit.tv/TNT. And, of course, you can always follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV. That'll alert you to the live show, which you can watch live and be first to know everything about technology every weekday. Please send us your thoughts and opinions. Send email to tnt@twit.tv or leave voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW. Don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name's Mike Elgan. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.